Good day, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Bash the Cloud. Today, we're going to learn a little bit more about the AAM services. In the AWS Identity Access Manager, you will handle all the users, groups, permissions, and all about the environment of the resources and users and your console. Okay, let's start with this first project. In this first project, we have two groups, the dev group and the support group. Both groups have inclusive permissions. Each user will have access to only the bucket that is assigned, and in the second part we will show you how you can switch the roles. Okay, we will learn that. So we can start creating the users, the bucket, or the group. There's no need to create it in a particular order. Okay, so we can start creating the users. Let's start. In the AWS console, we can start at the IAM section where you can find this URL. This URL is the master URL that you can access to that console as a user. So we'll create first our final users. Final users are lead, DevOps, and support. You can make click in add user, username. The first username is lead user. We can choose a programmatic access or a managing console access. We will set a predefined password and we can detach the required password reset. This is not mandatory. This is only for the example. Here you can create the group, so that will be faster. I will show you in that way. Lead user is a user from the dev group. So we can create the group name here. It's more faster. The next, we can assign a tag. That's not necessary. We can make the review. So in this particular zone, you can check all the resume and review if the user is created where you want. So let's click on create user. Now the user is created. Here you can check create, add it to dev group, and created profile. Close. Then the users will be listed these sections. Okay, here you can check the lead user assigned to the dev group. Okay, last activity never, because that user never has logged yet. Okay, we can create our second user. Our second user is DevOps user that also it's from the dev group. Up user, same, to predefine with the touch here. Can attach to the dev group. It's not necessary tags. We review, everything's okay. So now we create our two first users from the dev group. Now we will create the support user. We need to create the user and a new group. We click on add users, support user, the same. This action is for this demo. Okay, it's very recommended to attach when you put it in a real in a real project, okay? So we can create a new group here, support group. That's on the project, support group, okay? And now we click on the create group, attach this user to that group, and then create user. Great. Now we have the first step of this project, okay? Now we're going to create the buckets. To create the buckets, we can check on our servers on the storage section. We may click on S3, and then we will create a new bucket for each user, okay? In this example, we will find a way to have a policy for each bucket that depends of the user, okay? So in this case, we will create that bucket, okay? We need to put a name, okay? If you see the rules naming, you will see that a name must be unique. In this case, we will block, we detach all the block to public access. We need to click here as I acknowledge the current setting my results on this bucket, and the object will become public. Okay. So we will click on create budget. Let's check what happens here. The bucket. Let's put some number. Must be a unique ID. Let's see an example how it's called dev buckets. It's not allowed that signs, so let's try the buckets. Okay, that now allows that name for the bucket. It's great. We will create another bucket for the leaders buckets. Buckets. We will attach this, click. It's not available this name. Lead bucket. No, it's not allowed. Lead. Oh, it's the uppercase letter. Sorry. Bucket. So we click on create bucket. Here are listing the bucket that we have been created in this section. We will need to create the final bucket, the bucket for support. Bucket. Is an action, is a we will let those other options as default. Okay, now we have our project almost done. Okay, so we need to assign some policies that are also called permissions on the diagram. This policy allows to each user access to their bucket that is assigned. In this case, div user, the lead user, will only access the lead bucket. The same for the bobs and the same for user. In the final section of the video, we will learn how to switch the roles. In this case, the DevOps user will change that role and have permission to check the content of the support bucket. Okay. Now we will check how to add policies to each bucket. Now, once we created the buckets, okay, just for notice, each bucket that I create have a public access permissions, okay. This is not a good example for the real life, okay. This is a sandbox. That's not a good recommendation for a real project, okay. But what this means, we will check in the next video, okay, to block all public access, to make it public, just to let that clear, okay. Now we have created all our buckets. Now let's open our AAM and another windows. Okay, now we will add the policies and permissions, okay, to each bucket. To make this, we will click on policies, okay, and then create policy. The policy is the permissions for each resource, okay. You can create it by a JSON code also, or you can use this visual editor, okay, editor. So choose S3. For this example, we will check all actions, and for our first user, that is lead user, we will check that he can only access to the lead bucket, okay. So we copy the lead bucket name and we'll add the bucket name here. Great. Now what we are doing here, we're doing that we made a specific access to each of this resource in the S3. If I check any here, that means that this user we will access to any bucket, okay. So that's not what we need in this example. Now we can make click on the next tag. There's no tag needed for this example. So click on the next review, and here we can put the name for that policy. It policy, for example. There's no description needed. And create policy. We will repeat that for each bucket to follow this diagram example. And choose S3, all actions, specific resource. We check the name for the map. We put the name. Here you can see how the ARM it's armed automatically. We will check this in another video. Next tag, next review, ABAPs, policy. Okay, policy. And then we will create the support policy. After we create each policy that we need, we will attach to each user. You can check. These actions always change. It depends of the service that we select. For this tree, we will check the name support bucket. We copy on the clipboard, paste it. Then review, put a name, support policy. No description needed for this example. Again, this is a very basic example on real projects, you will need make a better, more privacy handlers for each group. Okay, now we have here our list policies. Now let's attach. We'll click on actions, select the policy, and may click on attach. Our dev policy we will attach to our dev user. Then click on attach. Great. Now we repeat the same for the lead policy, actions, lead policy, attach. We will attach this policy to our lead user. And finally, make the same for the support policy. Support use attach policy. Great. We almost finished this example. Let's check if these policies are working well. Okay. Let's click on our dashboard. On our dashboard, you can find the URL that is assigned to singing. Let's try another browser. Here you can sing as a user that you created. In this case, we'll check the usernames. Let's sing as lead user. User. Perfect. We will check. Okay. In this example, we are signing as a lead user. Okay. We will check which bucket can lead user get access to their objects. Okay, this is fine. Here you can see that the policy is working correctly. Lead only can access to the objects in the lead bucket, and there's an error message for the DevOps and the support. Please check this for each of the users in your case. Okay, if you see the error message, it's okay. Now to finish this project, we will switch the roles. This is the best part. Switch the role is a temporary allowance that DevOps user can act like a support user. So in this case, support user have the access for the support bucket. If we switch the role from DevOps user to support user, now the DevOps user will see all as the support user view. In this case, the support bucket. That's what we need. So now, for the user that came to assume the role, we need to create a new policy. Let's create another policy. In the service, we will choose the STS option and we'll click on assume the role. Okay. In the resource, we will put the path. In this case, we will write assume role. Okay. And we will add the bucket that we want to this user will handle. In this case is the support bucket. The support bucket. Okay. Let's do a review and we'll put the name assume policy. This policy will handle the S3 and the STS resource. We will create this policy. Now we have been created this policy, assume policy. We will create the role. Let's create the role. And the role we will choose from another AWS account. We will copy our ID number, paste it, and some permissions, and we'll attach the policy that we create. Assume policy. And we put the same name that we put it on the path. Assume role. Okay. Later, we will attach this policy to the DevOps user. Remember, the user that we want to get access to the support bucket, it's the DevOps user. So we'll attach this. So let's check. We will attach this new role. Zoom policy. Sorry. We will attach the policy to this user. Okay. Now let's check in another browser how to get the switch roles. We click on the switch roles. Okay, sorry, we need to copy the ID, this upper ID. I may click on switch roles. Here, we will write the name of the role we'll create. Zoom. You can let it be blank. Let's put the blue color. I may click on switch roles. And let's see. Now you have the view of the role that you created. In this case, you get access to the support bucket. That's great. Remember that the STS is temporarily allowance permission for certain kind of users on the project. So this is not the best practice for any user in the project. Is for some particular objects that we need to handle with that kind of users. So hope you liked this first episode. You can switch the role again for another user, or you can back to this backup DevOps user. That's great. Hope you like this first project. We will see in the next episode another handlers for IAM users. Remember, give us a thumbs up if you like it. If you want another tutorial, remember, bash the cloud. We will send a new episode each week, so don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot.